We're still listed as having adult themes on this program, which, as I said, always sort of makes me wonder. I think we should have added this week, may contain violence, because we have a story on Paul Tracy again. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of In Pit Lane. Hope you filled out your census last week, and I hope somebody's bothered to pick it up. Nobody's even bothered to pick mine up. I went to all the trouble of not filling it in, and nobody's actually come and picked it up. So it is now in 1,000 little pieces, the wonders of the paper shredder. Now, coming up next weekend down at Phillip Island will be the CAMS National Series. The performance cars will be in action along with Formula 3, production cars, Commodore Cup. It's going to be a huge weekend, and a little bit later on we'll be previewing the meeting and looking in particular at the performance cars. So stay tuned for that. Welcome back. You're watching In Pit Lane. Now, as we said earlier in the show, coming up this weekend at Phillip Island is the CAMS National Series, and there's certainly lots happening. Plenty of categories to keep you entertained. If you're looking for variety, it's probably the place to go. Not just the Australian Formula 3 Championship, which will be absolutely sensational. As we've said before, good open wheelers at the island are always sensational. Also, the Sports and GT Series will be in action. The Porsches, Ferraris, the Dodge Vipers, all of those cars running around. Once again, they look sensational at the island. Commodore Cup, there's the production cars, the performance cars. It's all happening down there, and to preview the big weekend, from the production cars we have Leigh Mertens, and from performance cars we have Dean Lillie. Gentlemen, welcome to In Pit Lane.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, Leigh, if we can start with you, you're in the production cars. We said at the start of the show performance cars and all the rest of it. I don't know whether anybody's told anybody, but in the world of marketing, there's something about sort of brand focus and all the rest of it. There's performance cars, there's production cars, there's GTP. Tell us the difference between production cars and performance cars. Performance cars are production cars, but they have more performance. Production cars have lots of performance, but they're not performance.
You're confusing me now.
Yeah, explain it.
Well, production cars are basically something you can buy off the showroom floor. Put a few safety features in there, shock absorbers, brake pads, and instead of racing rubber, and away you go.
Which is different from how with the performance cars.
Performance, there's a few more mods. You've got a lot more parity, so you can do a little bit of performance upgrades.
I was hoping we wouldn't hear that word. Parity, the P word, parity. Dean, tell us about parity.
Okay, it's something we've been on a bit of the blunt end of the stick a few times. In performance cars, we have rear-wheel drive V8s, rear-wheel drive 6-cylinders, four-wheel drive turbo cars. So to get all those cars to all have a chance of winning, there's a parity system. So they adjust racing weights and engine revs in the naturally aspirated cars, and in the turbo cars they can adjust boost levels, ride heights, what have you, to give us an even playing field.
So in other words, this dreaded even playing field is something that, I mean, in terms of, I imagine that one of the things about racing in the old days was the guy who built the best car, whether it was a manufacturer or someone in their backyard who built the best car, actually managed to win. Now this is a situation where if you build the best car, if you've got the fastest car, somebody is going to turn around and say, we're going to take some revs off you, we're going to put some weight on you, we're going to slow you down.
Yeah.
Is that racing?
That's another thing with the Performance Championship. We, with the range of cars we've got and all the circuits we race at, there is tracks where, say Wakefield Park, all the small four-wheel drive cars do really well, and the V8s can't do anything about it. We're stuck probably from 6th back to 10th. Go to Phillip Island like this weekend, the four-wheel drive cars suffer a bit with their lack of power, and we get our points back. So with the difference in the cars, it plays out on the tracks as well. So it works pretty well, I think.
Now, there's a different sort of parity in your class, isn't there? Tell us about, you have like handicap starts?
Yeah, we have a handicap start. Basically the production cars, there's 3 classes. There's Class A, which is pretty much your XR6 turbos. I run a VZ Commodore, XR8s. And then there's Class B, which is sports cars. That's Toyota Celicas and Honda Integras. And then there's Class C, Proton Satrias and Ford Focuses and stuff like that. So
The boring cars.
yeah, they're a little bit slower, not too bad. I've actually driven a Proton as well, so they're not that boring.
No, well, I suppose it depends on how you drive it.
Yeah, exactly.
There, but so once again, as I said, I suppose the idea nowadays is let's put on a show for people. But I mean, as drivers, does it frustrate you at all? I mean, when there are these artificial constraints there?
Yeah, sometimes the traffic gets a bit hectic, but it actually provides pretty good racing. It's designed so everybody basically finishes the line at the same time. So yeah. No.
Does that happen often?
No, they don't actually work it out that good. So.
No, I saw one. There's a touring car challenge at the AMRS about a year ago at Phillip Island. They almost got it perfect. It's the only handicap race I've seen where that is actually, the theory has actually worked out in practice.
Yeah.
And it was very entertaining. But I tell you what, as a journalist, it was an absolute bastard to write about. Now, Dean, tell us about your car. What are you driving this weekend?
VZ HSV. We bought at the start of the year. Our first round was Oran Park. We actually came third outright for that round, which was very good for. We didn't even get to do a test day in that car before we turned up, so we're pretty happy with that. But that was also the weekend that we've been most off the pace. We just had a lot of luck with other people dropping out, whatever. A couple of weeks ago at Eastern Creek, we're actually on the pace and came nowhere. So we had plenty of pace but no luck on our side. So. Hoping that turns around this weekend at Phillip Island. Pace at Eastern Creek usually translates to good pace at Phillip Island, very similar circuits, so fingers crossed.
So apart from these turbocharged cars, I imagine things like the Subaru WRX and particularly the Mitsubishi Evo 8 and Evo 9.
Yep, we've got an Evo leading the championship at the moment.
Leading the championship. So it is really that whole battle. That's the one thing that the two categories have got that say, obviously is missing in V8 supercars is, if you're not a Ford fan, if you're not a Holden fan, but if you like Toyotas or Subarus or Mazdas or something, chances are in one of those categories there's going to be somebody there that they can cheer.
That's right.
Now, coming up, not this year, but next year, of course, is a 12-hour race at Bathurst. And we don't know it's supposed to be for production cars. We still don't know exactly what that means because they're talking about rehashing regulations yet again. But is that something that interests both of you guys?
Certainly interests me.
Yeah,
I'd love to drive at Bathurst.
Over 12 hours?
Over 12 hours, yeah. Well, you get, I think, minimum of 3 drivers. So.
See, I think they've got a great opportunity here at the 12-hour. I mean, because it's a production car race, they should sort of try and recreate like real-world situations. Like, I think you should do the first stint with like a couple of kids in the back seat, like like you're taking them to school, and then you can sort of finish off. And then once you drop the kids off on your first, you get a load of groceries.
Yeah. Push some shopping trolleys onto the track.
Shopping trolleys onto the track and all that. So you've got the idea. So you can see the vision. Cams can't. They keep picking up on me. I don't understand this. But as I said, they haven't sort of worked out the regulations yet. Does it worry you that you've invested all this time and money in cars and you don't know what the regulations are for next year?
Happens every year. Yeah. Yeah,
I think that's a pretty good note to end on, actually, because yes, it's motor racing and it happens every year.
That's right, last minute.
That's most unfortunate. Look, guys, have a great weekend at Phillip Island. We'll be down there. We'll be seeing you in action in both of your races. But for now, Leigh Mertens and Dean Lillie, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And thanks to you at home for joining us. Next week on the program, we will preview round 4 of the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championship. And coming up in a couple of weeks' time, a very special guest we'll have here in the studio, a one-on-one with none other than Peter Brock. That's coming up in a couple of weeks' time. But right now, thanks for joining us on another edition of In Pit Lane. We'll see you next week. Until then, bye for now.